Talk to us. Okay.
Thank you very much. And yeah, thank you, Ellen, for inviting me. I'm very glad to be here and to present a little bit about my research agenda. That if I could name with an axis that is able to correlate with the different things that I've done, I could probably find these three specific words, right? Digital, critical, and the notion of maps or something that relates with space, right? Uh, so I'm going to start trying to dissect and talk about these three different words, digital, critical, and maps. And beyond this gigantic word, right, that is digital, I want to focus specifically on this map, which is made by Tim Rodenbrocker. And something that is interesting in this map is this idea of connection, right? This process that connects an input with an output. So Rodenbrocker in the Creative Coding Manifesto mentioned this potential that also Levmanovich named in sort of way, right? That you could use any kind of input. Let's say that we start with an Arduino sensor to create a hardware that is going to be an input, and then that we are going to have a mathematical process, a digital process, an algorithmic way of creating a different creative type of output that may be a physical object, data sculpture, or that may be a graphic in a kind of dynamic identity with the same type of input, right? So that's the first thing in this notion of digital critical maps. The second word is critical, and for me is important because are maps are super correlated with the notion of power, not just a graphical representation of space. And in this world map, we are able to observe, right, the differences between the projection and the way that Mercator have created this notion of a rounded map in a flat surface, but also the actual size of the countries. So the projection is in blue, the actual size is on red color, and the difference in some countries is enormous, right? So thinking all of the things that happen in the global north. Is this casual or is this a deliberate decision, right? And what's the impact of this graphical decision? What's the impact of this representation? And how could ourselves be critical with all of the different maps that we interact with? I live in Ecuador, that is just this tiny country in the middle of the world. I think that the countries that are in the middle are the ones that are even smaller in the projection than their actual size. So this is the first question for me. What is shown and what's concealed? Not just in these world scale maps, but also in the maps that we use every day, and the maps that we have in our pockets on Google Maps, right? So who is the one who is in charge of taking these decisions? So a group of designers in Silicon Valley are deciding the way that me in Quito, Ecuador, understand their own city. Even a group of people that probably they have never been in Ecuador before. And finally, this idea of a map, right? And the question is, what's a map? And I am not a geographer, so I'm rather use this Jorge Luis Borges concept, which is part of story. So I'm gonna play the story.
In that
Could,
empire, the art of cartography attained such perfection that the
could you
map of a
confirm
single
if you are
country
listening the audio?
occupied the entirety of a city and the map of the empire, the entirety of a province. In time, those unconscionable maps no longer satisfy, and the cartographers' guilds struck a map of the empire whose size was that of the empire, and which coincided point for point with it. The following generations, who were not so fond of the study of cartography as their forebears had been, saw that that vast map was useless, and not without some pitilessness was it that they delivered it up to the inclemencies of sun and winters. In the deserts of the West, still today, there are tattered ruins of that map, inhabited by animals, beggars. In all the land, there is no other relic of the disciplines of geography.
So in here, Jorge Luis Borger mentioned this notion of a representation of the space, and not just the representation of the space, but about the different types of interrelations that may happen, right? So I'm going to try to use these three concepts, digital, critical, and maps, to reflect and to describe some of the different project processes and works that I've done. But I just want to start by saying that, yeah, I have a lot of other different references, right? There is a lot of similar work, and in here there's a incredible example of some of the projects that have inspired me in different ways. So Drift Table is created by IRL and is a table with a display in the middle. This display is a map, and you could navigate this map by loading different weights all over this artifact, all over this table. Art Parking Data is a combination of a bunch of sensors in a Raspberry, in a microcontroller, and a group of kids navigate this park, collecting data, and then they create a collaborative session, and then a designer, Stephanie Posavec, created this beautiful visualization. Copenhagen Wheel is a device made by MIT that is connected and assembled in different types of bicycles, and they are sending in real time the data from the bicycle to a server, and then creating a terminal to project this information. And All Journeys in Berlin is a project by Plan B, who is Daniel Velasco Rogers and Stephanie New, and they draw by walking through their city with a GPS through a really long amount of time. So I'm going to present, based also on these references, some of the projects that I've done. I know that we don't have that many time, so it's created as a navigating system. So I'm gonna be moving by discretion from the different projects in order to try to make an interesting reflection. So let me start with Snail's Place, and this is one of my first projects. It was created in 2016. And I started with this question that is presented by Pearson and Thomas, right? What is recoverable? And they are trying to ask if is any possibility to recover real memories that may relate between space and the way that we navigate that space. And if there isn't any possibility, how could that be? How the different bodies and the performers that once were part of that space, of that place, may be present again. So I'm using the same methodology that these authors create, which means to identify social relations and identify evidence from the material world and try to create narratives about the past based on that information. So at the beginning, I just draw a maps of this neighborhood where I grew up, which is placed in Quito, Ecuador. At that time, I was living at UK, and I used that information to create something like a kind of living object, right? So this is Snail's Place, and the map that you observed previously is presented in two different layers. So on the bottom, there are real snails inhabiting in that terrarium, and the terrarium is a map in itself. So it has this 3D printed objects that recreate my relationship with the space. And the snails represent the members of my family, the friends that I used to have at that neighborhood. So when the snails move across the terrarium, there's a computer vision system, a camera, looking at the snails and mapping that movement on the top of the surface. The surface is not flat, so it also represents this notion of the mountains that is very present in my hometown. And the way that these displays are located create this effect, right? So by one perspective, you look across all of the translucent panels, and from the other side, all the map create a wholeness, and you're able to observe the whole city, the whole map, right? So in here, I'm trying to dialogue between memory, space, living creatures inhabiting space, performers, probably unwilling performers, right? And for me, it was kind of even a machine of recovering memories that I thought that they were lost. So when the snails that represent my grandmother encounters to the snail that represent myself in the park, I was able to, for any reason, to recover a memory that I don't know where was located, somewhere in my body, but suddenly appeared again. Now I'm going to try to move to a different project, and this is La Mariscal Diaries. This is more collective rather than just out of self-portrait. Mariscal is a very tough neighborhood. It was probably the first in Quito's modernity, right? And now there is a lot of crime, savage parties, violence, micro traffic, but at the same time is the neighborhood that is behind the university, my university, right? My alma mater. So I spent a lot of time at La Mariscal as well. And we were working with the community, trying to realize a way of how can we contribute to this empowerment process? That was the main question, right? So Mariscal was all of the things that I mentioned, but there was something else, right? there is a lot of people that is still living in that place, that have their life, that do shopping at that places, that grow their kids over there, that play in the park, that find love over there. So there are a lot of other things happening beyond this general idea of crime, drug abuse, violence, and so on and so on. So we created this tool. It's a combination of a flat, empty architectonical map with interview process. And we asked the people who used to live or still live in the neighborhood to give us some geolocated stories regarding the neighborhood. And we collected a lot of them. So we spent kind of a year collecting different type of information, different type of geolocated stories. So this is one of them. So someone told us, we never really knew what happened, but right here, pointing at Orellana Avenue and Pinzon Street on the map, there used to be a zoo. I don't remember that used to be a zoo over there, but there are a lot of folks mentioning that place. One day, a man was found dead inside the lion's cage. The story goes that a military officer killed him and fed his body to the animals to make the evidence disappear. So that's a myth. We don't know if it's true or not, but a lot of participants describe kind of similar elements. So yeah, we decided to include the lion at Orellana Avenue and Pinzon Street. So the process after the collection of all of the different type of information was create a whole map with all of the different stories, draw them at the beginning, hand draw all of the different stories, and then yeah, we try to create a digital map. So this is the map that we have created, and yeah, at the end we printed this map in a 25 by 25 feet size, so it was huge. This is 7 meters by 7 meters, and yeah, we encourage the people to navigate again this place, to recognize the different type of memories that were geolocated on the different streets. We even had the chance to present this map in Madrid, Spain, and it's interesting because there is a huge Ecuadorian community living abroad in Madrid. So the ones that were living in Madrid were able to engage again with this neighborhood that, as I told you, was very important in the modernity, right, in Ecuador. We also created these stickers to allow the participants to create new layers of memories, and they write different type of notes. It was a beautiful experience. So I'm gonna move to a different project. I'm gonna try to explain Paras block. And this was a very tiny but powerful intervention during COVID. So during the lockdown, I think that at least in my university, in my school, there were a lot of efforts to create new tools, to be more efficient at class, to produce better results, to engage better in class. But I was missing other type of common things, right? Like hallway conversations, or just yeah, I don't know, occupying the space with people and having unexpected meetings, unexpected encounters. So we opened 10 sessions in the educative edition of Minecraft, and we encourage the participants to rebuild the campus. So we have professors, students, staff, alumni of FADA, which is the name of my school, the Faculty of Architecture, Design, and Arts. And yeah, the idea was trying to rebuild this school by playing in Minecraft. We create these 10 sessions. We spend 2 hours per day during about 1 month. And yeah, what was interesting beyond the idea of this virtual object was the conversation that happened during that time. So this was the result, is very similar to the school. And as we were playing with architects, we tried not to use maps and to rebuild this just by memory. So we asked the students and professor to tell us about the experience, and they talk a lot about the reinforcements of the community, about the collaboration process. And then we decided to move from Minecraft to other platforms, because Minecraft was good for creating this collaborative process of building, but was not that good for the communication. So we moved the building to hubs, and in Mozilla hubs, we were able to create other type of experiences, the screening, concerts, gigs, exhibitions, and other type of activities. I'm going to try to describe Baraunda Boba. It's difficult. It's difficult to try to think in translation of this name, but it doesn't matter. So I was trying to recreate a map, but in this case was not a graphical map. I was thinking more in auditory map of La Carolina Park, which is a very important park in the city. It's kind of wash park in Denver, or similar to Central Park, something like that. So there's a lot of things happening. This is an illustration of Alice Bossut. So we could observe a lot of things that might happen over there, but we were interested in expand this idea of the map, right? Not just as this kind of bidimensional object, but in to prove if there is other kind of ways of using objects and artifacts to bring that idea. So yeah, I've been missing every time that I leave the city. I miss the sound, the auditory sound of my city, because I used to this crowded environment with a lot of sellers, with a lot of peoples, with a lot of traffic. And that's something that determines a lot the way of how this city behaves. So I created, and this is a representation. This is a kind of a representation about what happened. But Baraunda Boba was this object, and the object was alive, as the city is alive. So we are not able to determine when it's going to sound. They're just things that happen.
Wait, are we hearing sound? You didn't hear any sound. I'm sorry.
Oh, you didn't hear any sound?
Yeah.
Let me try again.
Yeah.
Juguito de naranja, coca con niveles, sandía, saladita de frutas, sandías, ellas sandías. Sandía 50 centavos la sandía, 50 centavos. A 50 centavos la sandía, 50 centavos.
So we try to create this living object, right? And to correlate with the idea that the city is also alive and that we are not able to determine where the sounds are going to come, how are they going to be produced, if they are going to interrupt or not. So yeah, sometimes the same sounds that I presented to you with this object might just be happening outside my home and interrupt this any Zoom session. And I think that I'm going to jump to the last project, which is also the biggest one. So I've been developing this project for the last 5 years. Right now it's on pause, but I don't know if it's gonna be active again. Sometimes I'm not able to control them, right? So they appear again, and so let me talk a little bit about the history of this process that we started in 2019. So we created this bicycle repair station, and we were trying to use the shape to represent the movement of different cyclists around the city. So this was just the first pilot about something that was even better. But what we did at the beginning, in order to understand how the different type of cyclists move across the city, was to create this type of diary, and we encourage about 10 cyclists to redraw their routes. So they had to record themselves for 24 hours, draw the routes in this map, and we encourage them to reflect about what they feel while moving through the city. Again, right, we have this idea and this notion of a city that is oriented to cars. But to be a cyclist is kind of a critical movement, especially in the global south, right? but yeah, so we created together this type of routes that represent their movements and kind of their signatures. And with that representations, we also have these reflections of this participant mentioned that she she loved her bicycle because it's a ecological way of transportation, and that she feels free because she is owner on her own time, because she choose her own route, and that she feels energized and happy. The bike is healthy and the best anti-stress. So we assembled all of the different type of routes that were drawn by the cyclist to have this idea of the version of the city that is rideable. And I know that it was not the best idea, but we were trying to find a connection between the 10 different participants. So we found a tiny module, and we tried to use that module to build this object that represents the different type of the different ways that the cyclists move across the city. And this was just the first approach that we had. Then in 2021, I was able to engage again with the process. This time, I was doing a personal way of understanding my own roots, my own version of this map. So I list the main routes that are part of my history while riding my bike. So for instance, let's say that from my parents' house to my school, or from my hometown, from my home, sorry, to the park. So I made this list and I perform again all of the different routes. For this time, I created an app in processing. So I coded something that was very quick and dirty, but that was at least useful to create this first representation. And I got a tattoo about this map of my city. And I even was able to draw the different type of cyclists and the routes that I observed during that process. And then with these two different elements, the ones that we created in 2019 and in 2021, we got funds. And with that money, we decided to create a different approach. So this time, using the app that I designed and understanding that probably the criterion is not create a bunch of different cyclists in one map, but probably approaching one route that is iconic for one participant. We were able to identify main routes and to create this object that represent a specific route of one participant. So we moved to the realm of the physical representation, to the physicalization of these routes that are, again, symbols of the cyclists of the city, but are also functional elements that help people to repair their bikes, and that also are kind of these aesthetic sculptures that are part of the city. So in 2023, we did 3 different routes that are part of 3 different scenarios: Magdalena, Ejido, and Bicentenario. We decided with urban planners about the best locations for these places. So we create these 3 different objects that are sculptures that are based on the different movements that these participants have. Even the mayor of the city was happy because they were kind of a gift from the university and from the embassy of France, that were the ones that funded the project to the city. And in 2024, we got funding from other institutions. In this case was Arte Actual Flaxo, that is an exhibition center. So we create a exhibition that narrate this process, but also we were able to install 2 new stations in the city. So in the same project, we are right now, and I think that map is over here, creating a collective system that is recovering by app in a smartphone the way that people move across the city. So we have these different types of data and this terminal that represent their movement. So this is also part of invisible project. And yeah, we were able to even to create a kind of ad that encourage the people to move in bicycles and to use them. So I'm gonna just play to show you about this ad.
Sabemos que te gusta ciclear, que te mueves como una sonrisa. Sabemos que quieres avanzar a tu ritmo y que resuelves todo con creatividad y con amor. Sabemos que aunque el mundo te diga que pares, nada te va a detener.
So I'm not in the marketing, so I think that is a kind of generic, but I don't know. I'm still happy with this output. So I'm gonna try to make a pause in here and to practice a tiny exercise with you, because this idea of mapping is not just about the graphic, and it's something that I've learned while I was doing this performance, right? So I felt the map and the roots in my own body. So I wanna do with you a tiny exercise. And I'd love if you wanna follow this, and if you can, it's just about 5 minutes ish, probably less than that. So I want to invite you to a very simple and brief exercise. So please, if you can and if you want, close your eyes and think about the last route you performed. It can be very short, from your bed to the bathroom, or something longer, like your walk to your workspace, or even a flight with several connections. Now, instead of imagining that route as a line on a map, I want you to imagine it through your body. How would your body remember this journey? How would describe it without words? Maybe through gestures, through weight shifts, through stillness, or small movements. There is no right or wrong way to do this. What matters is that you become the map. Feel the rhythm, the turns, the pauses, the borders, the obstacles. And when you're ready, let your body trace the path. You might ask yourself, how does it feel to become territory rather than just move through it? What routines or structures become visible when the map is the body? What emerge when the familiar route is slightly destabilized? Just let your body do the remembering. Now, when you feel it, open your eyes again. Try to reconnect again with the space that you are inhabiting. And we are going to try to close with a couple of takeaways. And then we could open a conversation about the examples, about experience, about the takeaways. So this notion of the rhythm of the urban is not something new. And different authors have approached in a variety of ways. Some of them have had a more structural and analytical way of thinking, how this rhythm shaped the urban space. Guy Debord is one of the first theoretical authors talking about this. So he prefigured the embodied and sensory geography, right? But also Lefebvre with the idea of the rhythm analysis and this way of perceiving the rhythm by the body. Or Cram that talked that there is not just one rhythm, by multiple rhythms, right? The polyrhythmic urban life. And that our body is going to be the instrument that is going to able to sense this rhythm. This is not chronological, but then there is this notion of the embodiment, right? Similar to the things that we have experience right now. It focuses on the movement, on the performance. So the Certeau talk about this idea of walking as a speech act. And he mentioned that walk is a language and the city is a text. And people are writers of that text with that in that space, right? And there's a way of co-creating this through the bodily presence. And then there is a group of authors that mention the ecological way of inhabiting and co-creating with the space. So MacLean explored other type of senses. She created this Smellify kit. It proposes a sensitive, a sensorial way of understanding rhythm analysis. Paul Smith engaged with the mythogeography. So he empowered imagination and subversion as a way of strategies or tactics to subvert this urban space. And Jones talked about the ecological rhythms. So mentioned the importance of humans and non-humans and more than human entities interacting all together as the rain, the ocean, the river, the mountains, the animals that are part of this whole presence. Similarly, there is this beautiful acrostic created by Rieger et al. I'm just gonna mention some of the elements that are more interesting in this acrostic of mapping. So they present this multimodal and multisensorial way of research, right? And something that they encourage is to resist to the translation of the things that we have experienced with our body. So this is very performative, try to be inclusive, and that pushes against that the prescriptive methods. They encourage to they encourage to become creative with the process and also with the outputs. And I love the last one that mentions to surrendering of the unknown and taking risk at moments of unknowingness by following processes and materialities to become undone. So I just want to conclude with this. These are illustrations of one of my favorite books, which is Invisible Cities, a book by Italo Calvino. In his book, Italo Calvino mentioned the journeys of Marco Polo and the communication that Marco Polo has with Kublai Khan, one of the emperors of the Ottoman Empire. And in this conversation, Marco Polo tells to Kublai Khan all of the different cities that he have met during his journeys. But there is a question that Kublai Khan asked to Marco Polo, and is this.
There is still one of which you never speak. Marco Polo bowed his head. Venice, the Khan said. Marco smiled. What else do you believe I have been talking to you about? The emperor did not turn a hair, and yet I have never heard you mention that name. And Polo said, every time I describe a city, I am saying something about Venice.
So Marco Polo was born in Venice. And in this phrase, he's mentioning that all of the cities, all of these mythogeographical cities that he have described are in a way part of the city where he was born So I think myself that also my projects are in a kind of way a self-portrait of myself. And yeah, I still don't know how to feel about that because I'm trying to create a participatory process. And at the end, I think that I'm still repeating this process of talking about my own relationship, my own embodiment, and that I don't know if I'm going to be able to escape about feeling space through my own body, even in collaborative and community processes. Thank you to everyone. Just let me turn on my light because the light changed in here. Okay. So yeah, thank you very much.
People have any questions, comments?
I thought the racks shaped like the city map were absolutely beautiful. That was really, really lovely.
Thank you.
I enjoyed the exercise you make us do, like make us feel how if you are the map. That was interesting. I haven't thought about that way. Really embody it. So I enjoy that.
Ellen, where did you feel that map? In which part of your body? Your hands, in your whole body, on your
Well,
feet?
everywhere because so this morning I was walking from 19th Street, go up the ramp to go up. And so I know I was walking very fast, passing other people. So that's why when I feel I can feel my feet moving, my body moving. And so he said, pin the map. I mean, that literally in moving around and going up the hill, and I turn around and look at the mountains. So for me, it really was an embodied experience. Like, okay, I'm moving, and I'm excited. So that was fun. Yeah, thank you for the exercise. I haven't thought about that.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. Wes want to say something? Go.
Yeah, I loved that exercise as well. It made my back hurt though. Yeah, I thought that was really like moving actually, and really engaging. And my question, I'd love to hear some of your deeper thoughts about data visualization and communicating a feeling and expressing like this notion of space and being able to abstract upon that and then being able to like bring that to a viewer or a person moving through the city. And so I'm just kind of curious to pull some more thoughts and ideas out of you about data visualization and connecting that to emotion.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Yeah, for me, what is important in here is like go beyond the data as just numbers, right? And try to create this intimate relationship with the space, and intimate relationship even with the data that we have. So when I started feeling the space and feeling the roots, the patterns that I observed were not just patterns, was also this pain in my back that I could relate with the way that, with the day that I was riding my bike through a specific moment, right? So having this additional, let's say qualitative, but is a personal way of understanding space is very important to, yeah, just stop just thinking with your mind, but also to create this somatic approach. And from that beginning the creation of graphic, the creation of visualization, the creation of media is a way of expand the feelings that you have.